When growth stalls, most leaders reach for surface fixes like new campaigns, a sharper sales deck, even new hires. But the real issues are often deeper, such as misaligned systems, broken handoffs, or unreliable data. That's why we built the Growth Readiness Score. In just 5 minutes, you'll get a clear score across 4 critical areas of your revenue operations and see how you stack up against your peers with benchmark data. Tap the link in the show notes to get started. It's quick, insightful, and often reveals issues leaders don't expect.
Frantically rewrote a new speech, and because I had a label printer, I printed out these little stickers that said, "I believe in you." Gave the speech, the staff handed out the stickers at the beginning. It was 1,300 kids. And at the end, I just told them, I said, "Hey, look, that sticker that I gave you is not yours. You can trade with the person next to you, give it to somebody in the hallway, favorite teacher, or go home, give it to your mom, your dad, your brother, your cousin, give it to the neighbor or the mailman. But find somebody and take that message I gave you today and go give it to them." Left. A few days later, the principal calls her back and she's like, "Braxton, they ran with it. You know, they being nicer to each other in the hallways. They're making new friends. They're being nicer to our staff." I've had dozens of parents call telling stories that the kids came home and wanted to have a conversation or just wanted to go be kind to somebody and asked if they would help them. And when she told me that, I was kind of like, really? You know, with those ugly little stickers? But they ran with it. And so I just thought like, man, I should do this at every school.
You're listening to RevOps Champions, a podcast created for B2B leaders to help you align your people, streamline your processes, trust your data, and leverage technology in order to grow your business. I'm super happy to have my friend Braxton Kilgo. Braxton is the founder of I Believe in You, or IBIY. Through IBIY, he's built a kindness-driven movement that inspires people and businesses to lead with belief before strategy. As the creator of both a purpose-led brand and a high-performance B2B lead generation agency in his past, Braxton blends belief-driven storytelling with proven systems that turn authentic human connection into scalable business growth. Braxton, welcome to the RevOps Champions Podcast.
Thanks for having me here, Brendon. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
Yes,
Braxton, so I want to dive in, really what I want to chat about with you today is I Believe in You, which you and I connected, for the first time 3 or 4 months ago. And it's just so cool to see what you've created. And I that's really what I want to focus on today. But I also want to just give our audience a little bit of background. And there are a couple of things that stand out from your sort of digital marketing days, which is, I think, where you sort of cut your teeth and learned a lot of sort of the hard knocks in life. So let's start from the beginning, which is, can you share how you went from 0 to 237 appointments in just 30 days, all through organic methods?
Yeah, we can. What's really cool about that is, within my business solutions company, I'm getting to implement a lot of the things that I built into a bunch of other people's businesses into IBIY. It's cool because, on the front, IBIY just looks like a bracelet company. Obviously, it's unique in its ways, but it just looks like a website that sells some really cool bracelets, and it is. But because of the experience that I and my team have from the other business, we've been able to implement things where I know these other bracelet companies are not doing things like we are, and that skill transfer has been really awesome. And so, yeah, as far as the lead gen stuff, I still talk about this with people every single day. We installed this system in over 1,000 businesses in the last 10 years, and we still use it today. It's actually the only marketing that we're doing at all for IBIYs on LinkedIn. And so the short and simple version, you can do this manually, you can do it with software, but basically we leverage the platform of LinkedIn to build really targeted lists of people that we would like to work with. And we just send connection requests and personalized messages to them based on whatever, our target is. Like right now, it's all about collaborating and doing different campaigns, whether that's for their conference, for, like corporate swag, like gifting. Some people, like the behavioral health companies, are using them for their patients and for their events. A lot of companies are using them just for gifts for their teams and their employees. And so many different things. There's so many crazy, unique ways people are using it. But to go into the LinkedIn thing, like really simply, we build super targeted lists, and then we use a software that allows us to send connection requests with like personalized messages. If they respond, drops into our inbox. If they don't, it'll follow up 3 days later. It'll wait 2 days and go like a post and wait 3 more days. And it goes through these people, but it's all of the people on that list are people that we would certainly love to work with. So it's not random people. It's very specific, and you can
Mhm.
target all the way down to team size, revenue, position, industry, et cetera. And so it's been really amazing. And even right now with IBIY, I've just got 2 appointment setters, and I think we're running like 6 profiles. And we're not even trying to do the same volume as before, at least right this second, but we're on track to probably set anywhere from like 65 to 75 calls in the next month. I think last month was like 50 something, and that was with 1 appointment setter. And so
Mm.
we're slowly scaling that up. And not only is it really targeted and awesome and a super simple system, it's also incredibly cost effective.
Right.
Right now, the software that we use costs about $45 a month per user. And then we have Sales Navigator for a couple of these profiles. So we're able to book calls like that with extremely high quality people by spending 500-600 bucks a month.
Mm. Mm.
There's not really anywhere that I've seen, being in the marketing space for a long time, that you can do that for a better cost than what we're able to do it for.
Right. So Braxton, so what makes, I mean, that it does seem so simple, and the fact that it's so inexpensive seems like a total no-brainer. And I'm guessing, a lot of people are like, well, yeah, but how does that, because a lot of us are getting those types of messages in LinkedIn outreach, which just feel completely off, right? So how do you do it in such a way that, I mean, because it sounds like because your list is so targeted, that the people receiving that outreach would be a really good fit for your sort of product and service. How do you sort of explain the difference between what some people call spam and essentially what you're doing effectively?
Yeah. Yeah. That's something I tell people a lot, is that it is super simple, but it's being really good at the little small things. And also not like I tell people, like, all of my appointment setters, when we train them, it's high intention, low attachment. And we're here to serve, not sell. That one thing alone helps us a ton. And
Mhm.
that's easier said than done, right? And getting that into your culture.
Mhm.
But to be a little bit more granular with the answer, and then I'll kind of zoom out to like the philosophy of it, is like, ultimately you have to have a product or service that is actually great, brings value to these people, ideally some kind of unique selling point, right? Because at the end of the day, you can run ads, you can do all of these things, but if people don't love it, maybe if your price point is off, maybe if just the presentation of it is off, like, you really have to make sure that when they see it, if they get that opportunity to see it, that it's enough that they're like, you know what? Yeah, tell me more about it. And
Mm.
so on the simple level, it's like making sure that when they go to your profile, that they
Mhm.
can clearly see what you do, who you serve, like feature the right posts, and like for the campaign and the offer that you're presenting. So like if you go to mine, you see my name and everything, but then the first posts and things that you see, if you go watch any of them, you have a pretty good idea of why we reached out in the first place.
Mm.
So, and the videos are nice, and they give us credibility and all the things. So your profile is really important. And that's always the first step with people, is what's the offer, who are we trying to talk to, and let's make sure the profile speaks to that in the best way possible. And maybe you already have the assets, but if not, we tell people, like, it's worth, get that video done, make that graphic, write it for that person, and make a post and pin it. So the
Mm.
profile is a big one. And then also to the messaging, the initial outreach is really important, because
Mhm.
building the list is pretty easy.
Yeah.
But then you want to make sure that you're not sending things that seem salesy. And with this, it always just depends on who the audience is and what your offer is around the language, because some people only need 5, 6 deals a year. Some people need 25 deals a week,
Mm.
so there's different ways and
Sure.
different levels to it. But, with the offer and the person they reach out to with the messaging, there's so many different approaches. Like, we have some people that take kind of like a humorous approach. We have some people that take it very direct. It's like, Brendon, great to connect. My name is Braxton. I do this. I saw that you have this kind of company. I do this thing where we can help take you from XYZ with the method. I'd love to tell you about it. If not, no harm, no foul. Hope you're having a great day, my friend. Some
Mm.
people are very direct. Some people, it's more loose, right? Like, I think our campaign right now reaches out and says something like, hey, Brendon, Braxton here, has like the little heart that I put on everything. Said, hey, I was reaching out. I've been looking for good people doing good things, and checked out what you have going on. It looks awesome. First and foremost, would love to support, but I had some ideas about a potential collaboration. Would love to tell you more about it. If you're interested, let me know. Have a great day. Then if they don't respond a little later, like you kind of as it goes, we get a little more direct and like send some links. It's like, check this out. And if you're not interested, fine. Right. So we kind of have a good follow-up sequence. But honestly, from the profile to that point of the automated messaging, even though there's a bunch of ways you can do it, that part's still pretty simple. And you can have that set up very, very quickly. And you can split test some things too, right? And see what your audience resonates with the most.
Right.
Also, not being afraid of no. I've had so many people that their initial response is no or F off or whatever it is. And those people are almost the easiest ones to close because if you respond back in the right way, you can still get them. And so the way to really stand out though is in this piece. Out of all of the system, the process, et cetera, the most important part is the actual prospect. Because once that person responds, there's no more automation. Like it's down to you or your team or whoever. So we're very big on like, again, not being so professional. We talk to people. I tell my team, I'm like, talk to people as if you were at the open bar at the conference and talking to the guy next to you. Speak that way, not dear Mr. Dennewill, I really appreciate your time today. And I really see so much ability for us to articulate that. Nobody wants that. And so we send a lot of voice memos. We send videos and it's like very raw and real, like we're texting somebody. And most people would say like, oh, that's like too unprofessional. People love it. And when you get that message, it really helps. But again, and I could go really, really deep into prospecting and how to do all of those different things. But the most important piece is that even though it's so simple that you take enough time to make sure the profile's good, the messaging is in alignment. And then when you get those people in, making sure that you're saying the right things because everybody's wall is going to be up initially. Thankfully, with IBIY, there's not another thing like it. So that's why like with our campaign numbers for IBIY right now, the like minimum standard that we had for our clients, ours is like 3 levels above that, which is phenomenal and shows how much work we put into what it is to get that response. But we've seen this work for so many different people and it's really awesome, but it's all about just being real and taking the time to do it the right way and not sending, messages for 2 weeks and be like, this doesn't work for me. Being really honest and open about like, okay, it's my price point or my offer needs to be packaged better.
Right. So you kind of were alluding to the fact that you have like a mindset or a core belief that's sort of guided you while you're building these pipelines from scratch. What is that?
Well, I think there's a few things. Like when it comes to what we're doing, there's a few like pieces to it. Like I said earlier, I tell my team it's about serving, not selling. And you have to have high intention, low attachment. Like when someone says like no or not interested or like this isn't cool, whatever, or you're spamming me, low attachment. It doesn't matter. Move on to the next thing. And, I think that's a big one. And then, I said the serving, not selling, but like that really being true. Like showing up to a call and being perfectly fine if it doesn't come from a deal and asking that person, hey, Brendon, there might not be an opportunity for us to work together right now, but before we go, like, is there something I could do to serve you, to help you? Even when the deal's not going through, you do that and they'll be like, well, I'm really looking for X, or it would be super helpful if X. Then you do it, and it might be a group text or an email connection or sending them a link. You'll be surprised that that person that was a no is now introduced you to 3 people that they're like, hey, I know this wasn't great for us, but I told my friends I wanted to connect them. You were so nice and kind. So I think like that really is a big one. And actually bringing value too. In this space of business, unfortunately, there's a lot of people that are great at selling things that they're not good at delivering on. And so I think the real first place to start is like, is what you're doing really bringing value? Is it really serving? Is it really helping? Because if you get that done, the rest really isn't that hard because it's apparent to see that it's truly bringing value. And I think that's the biggest piece. We have some of our like new appointment setters. There's some nuances within the business. There's numbers they don't know. They don't know how much our production ability is. They don't know what the turnaround times are. They're new. They're learning a lot of stuff. And what I tell them is like, look, honestly, if you know the general concept and some other stories from other people that we've helped in those examples, as long as you have an extremely high level of conviction in these conversations, just knowing that this really helps them, that's fine because we can get the detailed answer. But being able to tell those stories and like operate with a high level of conviction when someone says something and you don't know the answer, saying, hey, Brendon, you know what? I actually don't know that number right off the top of my head right now. I can certainly get it for you. But what I do know is And like
Yeah.
that alone, even without all the other
Yeah.
skills and all the right knowledge, it goes a long way. I mean,
Sure.
we've got some appointment setters that have never done it and they're just learning about IBIY and they're booking calls. And that's what their conversations look like. They're real, they're raw, they're honest, but they have a crazy level of conviction. And I think that helps us a ton.
So of course, so I think so. What I'm hearing is if they have confidence in the fact that this product or solution is going to be incredibly helpful to whoever buys it, that makes it seriously very easy to be confident in doing the work that they're doing. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, very cool, and very interesting. So okay, so Braxton, you founded I Believe in You. How has movement shaped the way you approach marketing and business growth today? And maybe, I guess, before you answer that, sort of give us a quick overview of what IBIY is.
Yeah. So I Believe in You is a innovative bracelet and mobile app company that's all about spreading small acts of kindness. We created a mobile app that allows you to measure the impact that you're making. And so we make bracelets that all say, I believe in you on them. They're all reversible. They have different designs and different colors on each side. And the purpose of them is that you wear them with the intention to give them away to somebody else. So they all say, I believe in you on them. And that's the purpose, right? Whether it's a friend, somebody at a coffee shop, a family member, whoever it is, it's all about spreading small acts of kindness. And what's cool about it is with our mobile app, we have a near field communication chip that's underneath the patch of the bracelets so that, let's say I took my bracelet off and gave it to you today, Brendon, you could touch your phone to your wrist and it would pull up like a picture or a video with a caption that was made specifically from me to you. Not only do you get the bracelet, but you get that message from me. But what's cool about it is you'd be able to see who gave it to me, all the way back to the first person that had it. You can see all
Hmm.
the cities and countries it's been to, all the people and the stories, and how many people have been impacted up to when it gets to you. But what's in my opinion, the even cooler part is then once you give it away, you get to watch where it goes around the world. And
Hmm.
in your profile, let's say you've scanned 10 bracelets, gave them all away. It'll show you how many cities and countries your bracelets have been to and how many people have been impacted because of your small acts of kindness. So you get
Hmm.
to watch it. You can see it on a globe. You can see all the people and the stories. You can connect with those people within the app. So there's a lot of really cool pieces to it. But basically, we're just creating an army of kindness. We call our customers, our people that support, our wave makers. And we're trying to make this ripple effect of positivity around the world by, you know, taking 5 seconds and 4 words to change somebody's day, maybe even change their life.
Wow, yeah, and if but I think that it sounds like the critical moment, and in each of these steps, it reminds me of the Maya Angelou quote. It's not what you say or what you do; it's how you make people feel, right? And so when you gift that bracelet to somebody and say, I believe in you for whatever the reason is that you're giving it to them. I mean, that is a moment that they will never forget, right? And then, of course, to your point, when they then pass that on to the next person, it's a completely different feeling of gratitude and giving.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's such a cool, and of course, like you were saying, unique product. And you and I have talked about it a little bit, and I saw you sort of present the product at an event in Charlotte a couple of months ago, and I think I shared with you, I immediately started seeing opportunities for like event companies
Mhm.
who do corporate events, whether it's with 200, 500, 3,000 people. How this product would be so cool. So
Yeah.
again, if you're an event company out there listening to this, and you're trying to think of something really really meaningful that you can do at your next conference and company event where you have all your people, whether it's 100 or thousands, this is an incredible way to sort of take the connection that they could have at that event to the next level.
Yeah. What's cool about it is that without the technology, I've been doing this for almost 10 years, and the mobile app is really still like just now about to come out of like beta and like into the real version.
Hmm.
But we've put probably 100,000 bracelets out into the world. So even without the mobile app, the amount of stories that we get from these little micro moments happening is
Hmm.
unbelievable with no tech involved, just a piece
Yeah.
of plastic that says it. So it's already powerful by itself. And the
Right.
thing is, with the mobile app, some people will never use it. Some people will
Hmm.
get that band from Brennan. It means the world to them. They might put it on their mirror in their truck and they look at it every day and like that's what they needed it for. That's
Hmm.
perfect. But the
Right.
cool thing about the technology, and especially as we continue to make it better, it kind of gamifies it in a little bit of a way. It connects you to other people. And it also allows you to witness the real power of small acts of kindness, because you might have that one micro moment and that's great. That's why the mobile app was started, is because I had all of these stories coming in and I was like, each individual one was so cool and so powerful. But I'm like, imagine if everybody was getting to see what I'm saying, which is
Hmm.
all of them. And
Yeah.
that fired me up to want to do what we're doing. And I want to get other people in that same boat. And we are.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess what I'm struggling a little bit with, Braxton, right now is you're using words like small acts of kindness and micro moments. But I mean, really, if you think about it, those moments there's nothing small or micro about them,
Yeah,
right?
it's true.
I mean, maybe in the bigger scheme of things, like these are thousands and thousands of dots that are connecting and as part of a much bigger movement. But the impact that you can have on someone's life in that moment by giving them the bracelet and
Yeah.
telling them this and giving them the message, there's nothing small or micro about that, right?
Yeah, it's so true. And, at the end of the day, just telling somebody that you believe in them and giving them a bracelet there's bigger acts of kindness you can do for people. This one's
Hmm.
simple. You can do it in 5 seconds, so that's kind of why we call it
Yeah.
like small acts. And that's why
Yeah,
we say small acts of kindness, big waves of impact,
yeah,
because these are all these little small acts. But when you look at it and realize even just that one moment
Hmm.
was really big, but that's kind of the concept, right? Of like all of these
yeah,
little things, if we band together as a team,
yeah,
these seemingly small moments or small acts, when
Mm.
you zoom out, you get the perspective of like, oh man, it's in different countries, it's helped different people.
yeah,
This was given to me because I was struggling to leave my job and start my own business, but then I gave it away to my friend, and the next person was struggling with wanting to be here.
Hmm.
Man,
Right.
if I didn't give that bracelet away and that got to that person and all it took was 5 seconds of my time to one of my friends because I believed in them,
yeah.
that's
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, no, it's incredibly powerful, and it's. I look forward to sort of catching up with you again in a few months to see like and talk about all those stories that have
yeah.
occurred between now and then. So, Braxton, I know a lot of business leaders struggle to balance purpose and performance, right? So, how do you personally navigate that tension in a what seems to be in some cases more and more a metrics driven world? How do you navigate that struggle that a lot of leaders have between purpose and performance?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's different types of businesses, right? And like some of them, that's not the forefront. They're solving a different problem. And that's
Sure.
really important. Like
Yeah.
we have to have those too. And I think regardless of what business you run, I believe it's worth finding some way to make a difference outside of the service, even if it's something small. And I think there's so many different ways to do that. And I'm also just a big believer in that like giving gives back, and that's not the reason that you do it, but start giving, start implementing. And it's not even just about giving too. It's about the fact that let's just say, a CEO, it's not some huge thing, but they just do the bracelets for their team.
Mm.
That's morale. That's them understanding the intention, the level of care. And
Hmm.
maybe it's not just for your team, maybe it's for your team and your clients. And so it doesn't have to be these big things. And some people like me are more passionate of making it everything, right? But
Yeah.
I think it's just really good to find some way to implement it and leave the world a better place in your own way. And so I think you definitely, when I first started, I would always say impact over income,
Hmm.
which was a young man's mantra to learning about business. And
Hmm.
I still believe in the impact over income side of things, but um, I would frame it differently these days because that's why I ended up having to put the company on pause, back when I was 19 because I was just giving everything away. We were making some money, but I just wanted to help. I just was giving it away. But then when it got to the point where it's like, okay, well now we need to fund this extremely expensive mobile app, it's like we need money to do that, right? And so
Hmm.
I think that you absolutely as a business you have to focus on the logistics and the numbers and the margins. But I think it's worth when you're doing that and you're building that package or that offer, add an extra 5% or 10% or take a dollar from everything and put it towards something that matters to you or to your team or something. And it's always worth doing that. And that's a big reason why we started the collaboration side of our business, is because with that, basically what we're doing is allowing any organization, whether you're a positive, mental health company similar-ish to ours, or you're a financial services company, with our co-branded bracelets, the initiative that we've launched, it allows you to have a movement exactly like ours within your organization. And that's just one
Mm,
way to do it. There's lots of things, right? But I think there's so many ways to do it, and it doesn't have to be overly complex.
Right. So, okay, so you just talked about when you were 19. So what happened when you were 19, and then what made you come back to that moment because you decided to take a different path?
Yeah. So I can give like the high level of the story. Basically, I went to college to play football. I got injured my senior year, got rehabbed, and it never got back to where I was supposed to be. So I dropped out of college because I was on a scholarship and wasn't playing anymore, and that's why I was there. So I went back home, worked on the farm, did some things like that, went to the oil field, and I ended up going back to college. But when I was there, I started a clothing company. It was called Vision. So it was all about defining your version of success. I kind of felt like where I grew up, it was like farm, factory, oil field, or football. And so I was chasing football, but there really was such a bigger horizon. Now I'm so happy I chased football because that changed my life. But
mhm,
I just felt like I was constricted and I didn't have these other options. And I had big dreams, but felt like I had to fit them into this. And so Vision was all about helping people define their version of success. And, the whatever it is you love, like go freaking get it. You only live one time. Like that was the message. And
mm,
so the clothing company was doing good, but because of the messaging, it started getting at me. I started getting asked to speak at like middle schools and high schools and graduations. And I'll give this part of the story and then I'll kind of fast forward it. But this is good on knowing kind of where IBIY came from.
mhm,
I had a school that I was going to speak at, and the principal called me before I was supposed to be there, 24, 48 hours before. And she said, hey, Braxton, we're so excited that you're coming tomorrow. But I just, wanted to give you a little bit of insight of, what some of these kids are going through at school and at home, just so you really know who you're talking to. And so I said, yes, ma'am. And then she spent just like the next 10 minutes with just heartbreaking information, and I went through some stuff growing up too, but this was just, it was so sad, and,
mhm,
I said, well, yes, ma'am. Like, thank you for telling me. I'll see you tomorrow. And I hung up. I was with my best friend and I was like, dude, I wrote the wrong speech. I'm certainly not qualified to answer any of those questions. And I don't know what I'm going to do because I already said, yes, ma'am, I'll be there. And frantically rewrote a new speech. And because I had a label printer, I printed out these little stickers that said, I believe in you. Gave the speech. The staff handed out the stickers at the beginning. It was 12, 1,300 kids. And at the end, I just told them, I said, hey, look, that sticker that I gave you is not yours. You can trade it with the person next to you, give it to somebody in the hallway, favorite teacher, or go home, give it to your mom, your dad, your brother, your cousin, give it to the neighbor or the mailman. Find somebody and take that message I gave you today and go give it to them.
mhm,
I left. A few days later, the principal calls me back and she's like, Braxton, they ran with it. They being nicer to each other in the hallways. They're making new friends. They're being nicer to our staff. I've had dozens of parents call telling stories that the kids came home and wanted to have a conversation or just wanted to go be kind to somebody and asked if they would help them. And when she told me that, I was kind of like, really? With those ugly little stickers? But they ran with it. And so I just thought like, man, should do this at every school. Do this for all kids. People need people. This should be for everybody. And that's where it like really sprung into what it was and turned it into bracelets, put it on a website, and it took off. And it was really
mhm,
awesome. And people from all over the world were posting, and it was super cool. It looked like it was a huge company, but it wasn't. I got to do an interview with NFL Network and ABC and NBC and all these different platforms. And it looked like this huge company, but the reality was it was a kid living in his high school bedroom with a laptop and a box of bracelets and resharing all of our customers. That's it. So
mhm,
ultimately, I just got to the point where once I got all these stories from around the world and decided I wanted to make the app, I announced it. Well, then I had thousands of people that were like waiting on this app that I had no resources, connections, didn't even know another entrepreneur to ask. And basically at that time, because of all the TV stuff and the social media stuff, some businesses were starting to approach me about buying it. But everybody was like taking majority, basically like, good idea, kid. We'll take it from here. And here's the vision and here's where we're going. And it wasn't the vision that I had for it. And so ultimately I put it on pause and told everybody like, look, I need to learn how to be a business person. I need to figure out how to build this app. I need a team and we need resources to do this right. So I'm going to put it on pause and I'll be back. And it's taken longer than I thought, but I'm back.
That's awesome.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And how long was that period between you realizing you had to go and find all these resources and capabilities, and then how long until you came back and to where you are now?
So there's been a few different seasons where I'm more working on it than others. When I first put it on pause, I kind of like almost had to like make myself forget about it for a little bit so I could focus on these other things. Cause every time I talk about it, it's the only thing I wanted to do. But it probably took me about 6 or 7 years before like really bringing it back because I got so deep into my other businesses and scaling those. And it was always what I wanted to do, but I knew I still had some levels to reach. And
Uh-huh.
so I've been working on it really heavily for the past like 4 years. And so in total, from like when I paused it to now, it's been 8 to 10 years, depending on dates and stuff that you want to
Sure.
base it off of. It's been a long journey. And now for the past 7, 8 months, I've been full time IBIY. I don't operate in any of my other businesses anymore. And that's all I'm working on. We're launching the e-commerce side of the business in January. And we've been doing our school tour and the B2B stuff for the last 7, 8 months.
Wow. Very cool.
So
And then and I guess, as we sort of wrap up 2025 here, what are you most excited about for IBIY in 2026?
the impact for sure, because really where we're at right now, some of the deals we're doing, the partnerships, the collabs, the tour stuff, with the amount that we market, promote, we don't post on any social medias. We're not marketing at all. And we have some of the biggest names that you can think of that are open to doing projects with us. And as much as I think that's awesome, what I'm really excited about is that once we kick out the e-commerce side of the business, we're going to start talking. Like I just did that TV show. I'm starting to do more podcasts and get on these stages, and we're going to be posting. And so what I'm really excited about is just for people to know, because we've been
Mhm.
outside of our kind of initial fan base and people that I have relationships with. Nobody really knows that it exists. So I think the fun part is like the fact that we have all of these people who know it and love it without really telling the world. I'm excited to see what the influx looks like when it starts getting out there in the world and people do really see what we've built.
Yeah. I mean, just from the 150 people that were in the room when you and I were together in October, so 150 entrepreneurs in a room. I think the sort of the general feeling when you sort of presented and talked about what I believe in you was that, I mean, you're not even like scratching the surface, right? So it's like you're literally just getting started, even though you've been thinking about it, working really long hours, talking to literally tens of thousands of people in schools and whatever. I guess the cool part of it is that you're just getting started, right?
Yeah, that is exactly like that's the fun part. It's like as much work as we put into it, we know that we're barely on the top of the surface here. And I think, this is one of those things, people talk about overnight success. I think here very shortly, that's what it's going to look like.
Sure.
Yeah, I think everybody who knows you feels the same way. Yeah, and the fact that it's because it is so unique and so powerful at a very deep personal human level
Yeah.
is part of that reason. Braxton, we look forward to following your success here. Then I know 26 is going to be a huge year for you and for I believe in you. So I want to sort of wrap up here with some advice, because what was interesting. So you were if not the youngest, one of the youngest entrepreneurs in this room 2 months ago, and everyone was going up to you. So everyone, whether they were 40, 50, 60, or 70, were asking you for advice, right? And now I want to sort of give you that, or ask you that same question, which is, so for the leaders listening to this particular podcast, what advice do you have for business leaders that are planning on doing something bigger and different in 2026?
That's a good question. I think it would probably be a different answer for different people if we had the opportunity to get more specific. But,
Mm.
I think just going into this new year, I think, a big thing I talked about even in just all the consulting that I've done in the last 10 years and my own businesses as well is making sure that the vision is clear, that the North Star is, that definition of success is clear so that you know truly where you're headed. And that might not be just numbers and revenue and margins, and just making sure that that's clear. And I think at the same time, too, different people have different opinions about this, but making sure that it's something that fires you up. that you actually believe in. I've had times of burnout in my agency and all my different things. And, still even to this day, for my agency, the entire time I ran it, I was taking calls 6 days a week. I was doing free consulting. I was on the phone for 10 to 12 hours a day and doing tasks and all of these things. And I was having some fun, but I did start to get burned out. And it was just because like I loved helping these other people, but I wanted to be doing this thing that I cared about. It was good and I was making money. What's funny is whenever I ended doing that, my schedule is actually more busy now than it was, which is hard to believe in general. But I have so much more energy. I feel so different waking up and getting ready to jump on at 8 a.m. and know I'm going to be sitting here till 7:30 p.m. with no breaks. I have a whole different level of energy, but because I'm going to talk about IBIY all day. So I think being fired up and like really caring about the thing that you do is super important. And I'm not saying, there's some situations where like you make some good money and you build it to where you have enough freedom of time and abundance of financial capacity that you can do your thing that's not so purpose driven and maybe it's not your passion, but you can fund that other thing or do that other thing or whatever that looks like for you. But I think
Mm,
making sure that you have something that actually fires you up and drives you, because one thing that I know for sure is part of the formula in business is getting punched in the face, and the stumble is a part of the dance, whether you want it to be or not.
mhm,
So I think if you don't have a big enough why and like a drive that when those come in, that you wipe the blood off and spit it out with a smile and say, let's go,
mhm,
it's a lot harder. It's a lot worse and it's already going to be hard. So I think just having a clear vision, having your team have that clear vision, your team knowing that you believe in them, and
mhm,
just having something that everybody's fired up about. And you
mm,
can be fired up about helping people get more leads. I'm not saying everybody's got to make the world a better place through kindness, but being fired up about actually serving people, not
mhm.
just hitting revenue numbers, I think that's like, you know, a really good North Star to have in any business.
Yeah. So it's purpose, vision, and why really. I think that's really solid advice, and I don't think anyone would argue with that. Well, Braxton, thanks so much for sharing your story, and we, like I said earlier, we really look forward to following the success that we all know I believe in you will become even more so in 2026 and beyond. So thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me on, Brendan.